Good morning, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 263 in the fifth part of KI theme. And before we get started and I introduce today's guest, I just want to go over, there's been a lot of KI attention as of late. And I think it's a good thing. I think it brings more exposure to the art. Although it's been frowned upon, and to be honest, Paulo's, some of his posts weren't well received. And there was some emotional aspect to it, how it was received. And in my opinion, if you're letting that emotionally bother you for someone who's not even a KI student, he's not even affiliated with any group. So if you're letting that bother you, I have an issue with that. I think he's bringing more exposure and attention to KI. I've seen people, I get messages every month as far as wanting to join KI, who do you recommend, this, that. So it's definitely getting more attention. And I think that's what we want collectively as a whole. I think we want KI to flourish, to grow. And so when Paulo brings attention to it, I look at it as positive. It doesn't mean you have to agree with him. Again, he has no bearing, no influence on the KI community. He's not even a student. So hopefully this is giving a different perspective on that. And again, I think there's positive that comes out of it. Again, to reiterate, the whole point of doing these themes is to bring more attention to KI. Also, to hopefully that all groups, sanctions, group leaders, whatever, how you descriptive words you want to call them, that can eventually come together and work together. Why? Because it's going to improve everybody. No one has all the answers. Everybody does things differently. Everybody's interpretation is different based on who they got it from, what they got. So why would it behoove of you as a student to explore, to see what everybody does? Don't you want to be the best version of yourself in your journey? Whether that be KI or anything for that matter. So hopefully upon conclusion of these theme episodes, hopefully this will be seen. And hopefully there will be some positive direction towards that, where you'll actually see groups. I, for one, am going to take upon myself, I hope it works out, to bring North American KI instructors together. That includes Canada, America. I would love to have Dax come down, Shawn come down, and all that. Wouldn't that be incredible under one roof to learn from all these guys? So again, how we go about that? Somebody needs to initiate. Somebody needs to bring or attempt to bring these groups together. The past is the past. Yeah, we can keep bringing it up, but I'm going to guarantee you it's not going to bring us forward. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have an open mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guests. So we have Guru Shawn Zirger, and we have Guru Sixto Carlos.
3, 2.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I look forward to these. Each time I do one, there's a different perspective that comes, kind of a different theme, so to speak, based on your guy, the guest background and their journey, who they studied with, when, the decade, and what have you. So this is going to be kind of neat because we have Guru Shawn, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2018 or so, and then we have Sixto, who's kind of seen decades kind of unfold and what have you. So I think it's going to be interesting parallel, to hear from you guys and all that. So without further ado, let's jump in. So you guys, so we'll let let's just kind of segue into, before we get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak. What was how'd you guys get into KI? I mean, so let's start with you, Guru Shawn. I mean, what led you to KI?
It was a happy accident, really. I've been studying a lot of different martial arts for a very long time, and I was into CLAT at that point. So it was after my Dog Brothers thing, and You know, after my Santo stuff and after like looking at HEMA. And so, you know, I was really focusing on CLAT. And at that time, the best opportunity to train a lot with the teachers I was training with was to go to Russia House in the Philippines and and train there because it was going to be 10 straight days of CLAT. Um, but I met Mang Rami because he was introducing everybody. Um, and giving the history and giving the clarity of you know where each group came from and how it panned out historically, and I just became very interested in it then.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Right. Lucky and happy coincidence, right? You go there for C-Lot, and at the end of it, you actually get something that you weren't expecting.
Well, yeah, because he did a lecture on measure, and I looked at that lecture, and I just found it to be. We did a lecture, and then we worked with the Peate Arnis group and looked at their version of measure. And the whole time, I felt like, wow, they're playing with me because you know it's this kind of thing where I'm like reaching for someone, and they can reach me, and I can't reach them. And so I spent the next year studying it, and that was really what made me go, oh, geez, this is the thing that we've been talking about in all the other martial arts that I do. No one has a like simple way of teaching it. It's like this idea that's mystified. But here it was just a lecture. Straightforward.
Guru Sixto, what led you to KI way back whenever that was?
Okay, similar to Shawn, I've been exposed to different martial arts. Then it was time I decided to start learning FMA, Filipino martial arts. And I was lucky enough to learn under Kuya Jun Pueblos, who was the late Edgar Solita's training partner. Well, a bit of background with Jun Pueblos was he's the nephew of Leo Gahe, and he trained with Manong Jose Caballero, and also under Tatang. So there was a time, June was very humble, and there was a time he decided, hey, you and your brother, me and Baste, Guru Baste, he said, I'd like you to go to the next level. Let's go to Luneta. And that was it. He introduced me to Tatang. That was way back 89. And with Tatang, I met Mang Tony, Mang Yuli, of course, Mang Romy, Mang Robert, uh, Mang Pedring Romo, and all of the other guys there. All of my seniors like Maynard, Nick Magop, Jason Yee, and Murillo. They were all my seniors back then. And that was it. And unlike when you talk about Tatang, nobody says anything bad about Tatang.
I've heard.
Nobody would say anything bad about him. So he was the man. We wanted to learn Illustrissimo. We used to call it Kali Illustrissimo back then. It wasn't yet Kalis. And the number one guy there to learn under with was Mang Tony. But of course, I consider Mang Tony is my father in Illustrissimo, and my uncles are Mang Romy, Mang Yuli, Mang Pedring, and even Mang Martin, and other guys there.
Yeah. No. So, well, again, you know, you guys as you guys just mentioned, you guys had pretty extensive FMA backgrounds and martial arts background as a whole. You know, just, you know, for the people that are watching, like what stood out immediately? Like, if there's a couple things you can think about on the initial experience that just stood out, that was mind blowing, or there was a revelation or something significant, you know, what was that? So, Guru Shawn, what was it for you?
Clarity. Everything that was stated, and I believe that this is because of the teacher, but everything that was stated was clear. And it was precise, and if you followed the steps, you could reproduce the results. And that was really the thing. There was nothing that was sort of left to exploration or interpretation. It's step by step. If you do this, this will be the result. If you don't do this, it'll fail. Right?
You will have no results. Your results will be negative. So when you say clarity, I find interesting, and I think you articulated that well. So not only clarity in the verbal description, but also in the physical demonstration. Is that fair?
Oh my, yes. But I mean, how many people can describe a technique? Well, we just describe it, and have you be able to execute it based on that description, right? That's the type of clarity I'm talking about. Because if Meng Rami is delivering a lesson and he wants me to understand what Tatang meant by a thing, not only will there be a description of the technique and a placement in its place in history, but there will also be, the things that Tatang would say about that technique, and he'll translate those things for me, because he'll tell me in the original language and then translate it for me because I don't understand the original language. And so the whole mindset, the mechanics, everything was just clear all the time.
Wow.
That's true.
I mean, that's really, that's the first time that a style described like that in all the interviews I've done. Very interesting. Well said by you. Folks, if you are watching, please tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. We're just getting started. So same question for you, Guru Sixto. I mean, like what? I mean, it could be one thing. It could be two things. Something that just, again, there was a revelation, a huge light bulb went off. I mean, something just profound and significant.
Well, first of all, everything what Shawn said, I agree. Everything what said is correct. Okay. I notice in other systems, techniques are open to interpretation. In Calis Illustrissimo, if there's a strike, there's a counter, there's a specific angle, there are specific counters for that. There's and Mang Tony had back then, and even all of the instructors had perfect biomechanics. In other systems I've tried, you're left to guess. It's open to your interpretation. In Calis Illustrissimo, it's very specific. That's one. If there's an attack, let's say this angle, so you should be using a certain counter for that. Or if there's a certain opening, there's a certain attack for that. So there's no guesswork. It's very specific. Two, it's a blade orientation. I've noticed that in a lot of other systems, sad to say, they claim they have a blade orientation, but it's actually a stick system being applied in a blade situation. It's different. Even if the way Tatang moves, the way Mang Tony moves, I'm sure Shawn knows this. There are specifics in the way you need to hold the blade, the way you counter, position, and Mang Tony introduced us to using wooden swords. It's to give us the correct biomechanics when we use weapons. So a lot of things, a lot of nuances, a lot of subtleties.
Yeah, I thought you both articulated that really well. I totally agree with you on the responses depending the trajectory of the angle and what you would do, as opposed to like you're doing something, but now you just created a highway for them to run down your blade, and now your index or thumb is gone because you did the wrong defensive movement. And trial and error, I guess, and that's how you find out. But we've got some folks that are saying, all right, folks, thank you if you're jumping in. Please tell us where you're watching from. So we got, hey, good Lance. We got Clyde. We got Robert Small. Hey, Robert.
Oh, hey, Wayne. Vince.
Oh, that's got to be your guy, right? Okay. We got Vince from UK. Emmanuel, my man Emmanuel from France. and all that. All right. So,
I like 5 statement.
Cure Brothers Hooray to Dr. Sixto. Okay. All right. Okay. So,
Disgusting.
so no. Okay. So you guys kind of like, what you saw, like what initially appealed to you, and all that. What really stood out as far as a light bulb moment and what have you. What just in general, Guru Shawn, some of the noticeable differences from your previous FMA training that was different in your KI training.
Wow. So I would say one of the things that stands out most is this elimination of cooperative drills. Right. That's one thing that really stands out as being very, very different. The first thing that really grabbed me, and I guess I don't know, I've been looking for it for so long and I just hadn't found it, but it was blade management. It was so detailed. It was so very, very detailed. And after, spending some 15 years with people that were deeply into HEMA and not finding it there and not finding measure there, it was fascinating. So to find someone that could articulate it, show you. I was also really impressed with how much pressure Mangrami would create. Because I'm coming from a background where I've done a lot of fighting. Mangrami presses me back right away, and I'm quite a bit younger, and I've got a fair amount of strength and speed, and he was pressing me back right away, first moment. So it was, those 3 things really grabbed my attention right off the bat.
When you say pressing, if you don't mind, if you can expand on that, like the pressing and the pressure, can you expand on that? What do you mean? And also the benefits of you feeling that.
Well, I mean, we all know about the idea of leading a fight. If I'm under pressure, I'm being led. And it's that simple. The fact of the matter is I was backing up almost right away, being a foot taller and like probably an extra 100 pounds, and I'm being pushed back, right? So I was under threat, and this is a hallmark of someone who has control of the fight. You can tell. Like if you're in a Dog Brothers match, you definitely know who's leading the fight and when they're leading the fight and when you get the upper hand and you're leading the fight. But it was very, very difficult for me to create pressure back. So much coming.
Okay. No. Thank you. Same question to you, Guru Sixto. I mean, again, training from previous FMA systems, what were those differences? It could be anything. It could be from a conceptual lens, a tactic lens, a technique lens. What were the differences from your previous FMA training?
Okay. The thing is, a couple of things. Okay. First is footwork. The footwork is very specific. In a previous martial FMA system, I learned that we have the forward triangle, backward triangle. I felt sometimes you're just forced to do it. In Calis Illustrissimo, it's very specific. If your opponent goes forward, you move this way. If it's near, if he stabs, you slash. You have to be in a certain position. And the way Mang Tony taught us, and I'm sure also the other instructors, no, also the other seniors. Let's say you do an estrella. Mang Tony used to slap me if I was in the wrong position.
Oh, the left hand.
Yeah, he would tell me, okay, when you counter with the estrella, you have to be in a certain position, stance. Do not bend forward. Do not lead with your head. I can slap you. So he had the way he taught us was it was very specific. Each counter, let's say you do a circular strike, you have to be in a specific position to do it, and I haven't seen that anywhere else.
I like what you just said on the footwork. Like, I felt, I'm not, and I'm not saying I was right. I could have been immature at the time in my beginning FMA days. But I felt like I was moving just for the sake of moving. Like it wasn't really described to me like I'm doing. I felt like, like sometimes they reference a Kali dance, as far as the triangles are concerned. So I felt like there was nothing really given to me as far as very detailed explanation, like why you're doing this and all that. But much to your point, when KI, it was very specific.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you're doing a hanging step because of this. You were doing Talon Boa because of this. You were sidestepping because of this. So I agree with everything you guys are saying, and I think you're both thus far really articulating this stuff really well. So kudos to both of you.
I just want to say, when it's not like other FMA didn't have footwork, but the it was the idea that you need to get to the outside or you need to move to the inside. This is so the detail about where on the outside and where on the inside, and like how close is so heavily spoken of and detailed. So yeah, I think that's the real difference. But and being left to explore it and discover what the perfect range is. And I've met great fighters who have found it. They've certainly found that perfect range. But to be able to pass it on, that's harder. Yeah. Easier with this technology.
I want to go. My next question is kind of going to getting into the notable differences between other FMAs styles and all that. Their defensive movements, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this, and let's start with you, Guro, Shawn. Their defensive movements in KI that, thus far in my journey, I have not seen in other systems. Notably, Friday, Media Friday. Even the Ferrete is different. Like when I look at the Ferrete and Anasano blend, the making of the cones, when I look at Beatrice hitting the back of the blade coming here, hitting the back of the blade coming there, totally different in KI. Totally different. What say you on that as far as the defensive movements and the differences from other systems?
What say I?
What say you?
So there were certainly things that you do defensively or counter offensively that I hadn't seen. Friday you do see in HEMA. Because there's a lot of sword work, there's a lot of working against the point of percussion, working against the harmonic of the sword and setting it aside. I feel like it really comes down to I felt the same way in terms of I saw a lot of detail that I hadn't seen before. But, like taking that one example about Florette, in a lot of the systems that we've seen in the West, we've taken the word and associated it to the movement, the general movement. And so we have all these really strong root motions, but we're largely left to explore how those root motions show up in a fight. Whereas I found in KI that while Florette is completely differently interpreted than these multiple attacks, they're more looking at when and how to engage the blade so that you can turn it back at your opponent or buy time. And so it's just, again, more specific. And I think, again, because it's a blade and not a cylinder, that, these things held true. Also because it's fatal practice, and because it's a living tradition, these things carried on. But if you look something like Destreza, as it's taught by the Martinez line, and his line, you'll see those things. You'll see that precision in swordplay, also a living lineage, right? So, yeah, I think the fact that they've not moved away from dealing with the sword keeps a lot of that detail in. Yeah, and I really enjoyed the exploratory method, but having that behind me, and having that like under my belt, having that experience, finding this one that's precision, yeah, it's
No,
expansion.
I think that's well said. I mean, just like you guys said, the clarity, the precision in KI is like no other system that I've gotten. Like how just again, just how precise they are in the detail, why you're doing the footwork, why you're doing this defensive movement as opposed to another defensive movement, and yeah, it's so appealing, and to me, it's not just polarizing but addictive. We got Robert. Hard to hear. Robert, please let me know if it's still hard to hear. I did turn up the volume a bit, so hopefully that improved things, but please let me know. Same question for you, Guru Sixto.
Okay, you mentioned the fraile, media fraile, and a lot of the other techniques. A lot of that depends on your opponent's position against your own position and your weapon's position. Okay, oops, excuse me, my cat's on the computer. Okay.
Gay cats. Mine was.
I love cat. I love cats. Anyway, like you were saying,
Guys, we
the
just want to get that out of the way. We have two cat lovers.
We're bonding on the cats thing.
okay, so like the fraile, no, it's the position. It's in case my hand is here, so I do hold the blade, do the counter this way. In case I'm holding it vertically, I would be doing a different counter. If I'm holding the blade this way, I would be doing an oravis. So it depends on your position compared to your opponent's position. If your hand is up, in the middle, or down, if it's pointing, or it's on the side. Like what Shawn said, there's a lot of details. What you do would depend on all of these points, these data of you and of your opponent in comparison to you.
Okay. No, and I get that, and I again thank you, and I definitely get what you're saying. Depending where your weapon hand is, that's where you have to go and defend from that point. You can't start moving around and all that. But would you agree, as far as the defensive movements in your previous FMA training and background, that they are unique and you have not seen them before in other systems?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Again, because KI considers all of those positions, so they have you need to have specific techniques. So I guess there's a lot.
No, I'm in 100% agreement with you. But now we got some other folks jumping in. Brandon Ricketts, hello everyone, and we got Maestro Ray Floro. Yeah, all right. All right, Rob. I'm glad that's better. Thank you, Rob. Okay. All right. So, can you just screw Shawn?
Yes.
This is going to be for both of you. Your perception of art from a tactical point of view.
My perception of the art from a tactical point of view. Well, it's highly effective. From a tactical point of view, I mean, if you're in a sword fight, it's just right, because that's what it's for. It's the simplicity of the whole thing comes from an era where you would be wearing a sword on your hip and expect that you might be using it before you came home as you went out for the day. And so, I think the thing when you talk about tactical, if you're actually in the fight, like you've kind of screwed up tactical. Because they shouldn't have seen you coming. So really, when it comes down to the sword's route and you have to fight, you have to engage. I think this is why there are no cooperative drills. There's no room to back up, right? Like you could be dueling, but that's not tactical. That's ego, and and or training. But then it's not dual, is it? But the actual tactical part is about forcing an engagement, and from that forced engagement, finishing.
Right. Having a response or unresponse.
Okay. It doesn't matter because it's going to happen now, and there's no backing up because your brothers are back there behind you, pushing forward. Right. So the tactically, I mean, it's sensible and it's completely unyielding because it's just I'm either going to take them or I'm going to die.
Yeah. It just reminds me of a quote from David Gould. Combat's easy. Live or you die.
Right. I mean, it's going to go one way or the other, right? Or you're both going to die.
Yeah. When he said that, I was like, I think he's got a point. Guro Sixto, same question.
Okay, so the way I understand it is the way Calis Illustrisimo handles it. Tatang actually quote unquote cheats when he does techniques. For example, let's say if you want to attack him, his weapon is already in a very good position. You will also see this a lot in Mangromi. You think they're fast, but actually they're already in a very good position. And a lot of the techniques, tactically, it's very offensive. Like the Estrella. A lot of people think the Estrella is a defensive technique. No, it's an offensive technique, actually. You strike the head first then the hand, before you actually do the block. So it's very offensive. And next is Tatang's system. His concepts are he sets you up. Each technique forces you to move in a certain way. So it limits the possible counters, and you're able to set him up, your opponent, for the kill.
Well said on that. Like he limits what you can do defensively. You know what I mean? Like, or he limits you to knowing what you are going to do defensively. Yeah. And plays off either scenario. Like, so you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. So this is okay. We're going to kind of go into you guys' teachers. So Sixto, I'm going to have you go first on this because you had the variety of teachers as far as KI is concerned. What did, just briefly, what did each one kind of instill you? Like something really profound, unique that each one instilled in you?
Okay. Of course, Tatang himself is very direct. If you ask him a technique, okay, Tatang, how do you counter this stab? He'll just grab your hand, stab you. That's it. With Mang Tony, he has a lot of drills. He made it easier for mortals like me because I'm not a gifted athlete. I'm not. I learn slow. Perhaps compared to Shawn, I have to do drills. I have to do stuff 10 times more to learn it. Mang Tony made Calis Illustrisimo digestible for the average person. That's one.
Okay.
So with Mang Yuli, oh, Mang Yuli's a funny guy. He does a lot of fun stuff. He's well, you know Mang Yuli.
Character, huh?
Yeah, he's my funny uncle. He's very funny. Mang Yuli focused a lot more on the tournament, on the sparring. So I think I discussed it yesterday when he would show a lot of concepts on sparring, like when he would fight while hitting, the stick would move. When you get near, so you can use this. Then when you go far, the stick moves again, so you can use the maximum length of the weapon. And a lot of other things like being explosive, a lot of those techniques. With Mang Romy, what I learned was a lot of the concepts, more of the. We were discussing this yesterday, Shawn. The 1-2 step spotting techniques, the direct, more of the direct stuff.
Okay. No. Thank you. Um, Shawn, if I'm not mistaken, Guru Shawn, your just training has just been to present date, just with Mang Romy. Am I correct in that?
Well, I mean, Santo Academy teaches Illustrissimo from the Villabraille source. So I had that. And, that formed the basis of so much of my training leading up to my Dog Brothers performance fights. And anyway, but with the Cali Illustrissimo and this is my only experience really has been with Mang Romy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then seeing the reaction to like arriving in that scene. So
all right. So with that said, tell us, what is he, the experience with training with him? What does he try and instill in you? What can you share with the folks that are watching in regards to him?
Well, I mean, first of all, I wish everybody could train with him, but that's unlikely to happen. The experience is very unique. He's not. So he did not want to be known as a martial artist, so much as he wanted to complete this project of archiving the work of his teacher. And so he's purpose driven, and he leverages his talents, which are very shrewd reasoning, assessment, and because he's looking to archive the works of a master, he's looking to find its place in history and see where the source material came from, because it's not like Tatang just made it up.
Right.
Someone taught him and someone taught them. And so there's a deep look into what was before FMA, which is CLAC. And then there's the Europeans arrive, and the Europeans not only arrive with their Spanish technology, but with their Italian technology as well, because they have mercenaries with them, probably Germans as well. I've read stories about Germans in the Philippines during that time. And it's, so it's really interesting to take a look at the progression of Spanish and Italian sword play, what that becomes on its way to the Philippines, and what it becomes once the Philippines is discovered and, shall we say, exploited for the fighting men that would man the ships in the 1800s and 1700s. So because there's this really long period of occupation, but there's also this long period of having Filipino fighting men alongside these European officers. I feel like I'm losing the thread a little bit, but the point is you have this tie-in to historical martial arts, and you have a tie-in to a legend in Filipino martial arts, and someone whose purpose is exclusively to kind of freeze frame that art so we don't lose it. You know,
You're not the first one who's brought up the Italian influence. I find that fascinating. It's something I want to try to get more clarity on and read about. I just got to find the source and the time to actually do it. But just, Guru Shawn, did he ever mention, like, far as his training, like, and all that, did he mention anything specific in regards to GM Militissimo, like his time in Mindanao and how that influenced what he already had from the family? Did he make any information on that in regards to you sharing with you?
Yes and no, because he was very clear that there was a connection and that there was specific material that was taught that created a lot of Tatang space. But the focus, and this is something I've been learning over the years, and people have been. This is actually pretty funny. I have had restrictions on what I can share, who I can share it with, from the beginning, and at first I thought, like, because there's a narrative going on about this, but at first I was like, so is this control? Is this like? But the longer I'm in it, the more I realize it's a process. This is being revealed to me step at a time, step at a time, step at a time. We're going to start you with measure. We're going to get you into the dueling material. We're going to get you to understand the combative material. And we're going to progress and progress in this way. So, certainly there has been a fair amount alluded to. And because of my CLAT background, I can see where in the footwork and in the blade work, there's a CLAT influence, but it's not being expressed to be, this was what the original teachings were. It's it's always contextualized as this is Tatang's system, the root system.
Yeah. Okay. No. How about Guru Sixto? Has it ever been revealed to you or shared with you? In other words, it's been told to me, from different people that KI is the perfect fusion, a perfect blend of Spanish and Moro. Okay. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying what's been shared with me. So I don't want to get that misconstrued. Would you agree with that? And if so, have folks instilled and shared that with you? And have you seen evidence of that through your decades?
Okay. I'll be frank here. Okay.
Please do. Yeah.
It's my brother who's more interested with the historical aspect of KI.
All right. I'm going to nail on that. Okay.
It's Baste, it's Guru Baste. Personally, me, I'm not so particular. I'm more technician. Show me a technique, I compare it, and that's it. When it comes to history, sorry, I'm not.
No, fair enough.
I don't delve much into that.
Yeah, I'm a history nut.
Although Mang Romi's lectured a lot to me. Okay, but sorry, Mang Romi, it's just not my thing. It's more of my brother's thing. Okay.
All right. No. Fair enough. Well, I'll ask him. I'm just curious because the reason why I'm asking you guys this because there's been so much talk of, like, okay, we know the family system, what he got from his uncle's father. We know Pedro Reyes.
Yeah, Pedro Reyes.
Father's training partner has significant influence on him going down there. But what seems to be questionable, and I'm not saying it's questionable, what seems to me to be questionable or unknown is his tenure and his time down in Mindanao and what he really got from the quote-unquote Sultan, or just in general of his time down there. Was he really, did he really dive into the Moor arts, Silat, what have you? Was he exposed to them? How deeply? And I think, and I'm not saying I'm correct that, but there seems to be question marks around that or unclarity. And again, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying what's been shared with me through various conversations with different folks.
Oh, okay. Dean, this is one of my observations, okay? I'm a big fan of military combatives. And a lot of what Tatang would show before, I can see that a lot of what he does is World War II combatives.
Really? That's fascinating. Wow, 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 wow. Okay,
The
okay.
That's the palm strikes, the way he does his takedowns. He gets it from the head, from the eyes, throws it down. Even some of the stuff that Mang Tony shows us,
Hmm.
you will see a lot of those moves from World War II manuals. I'm not saying they got it
No, 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 no. I think
there.
it's an interesting correlation you're bringing up. I mean, obviously, it could be possible, right? I mean, that's
I couldn't say,
yeah.
but there's some similarities from the way I was taught. Huh?
And there's definitely stuff from Sea Lion. I mean, Shawn, I think can attest to that. I mean, from Sea Lion, some of the takedowns are definitely. It'd just be interesting to know if we ever could find out, like, what happened down there. Like, who do you train with? Who do you know? Who was Shawn? What say you?
Well, I mean, this is the most exciting thing about it for me. Kind of like because my trajectory seemed to be like a shotgun approach to studying martial arts. I think this is why, I so appreciate Paulo's kind of what he's doing, right? Is because he's just taking a personalized shotgun approach, boom, and I like totally get it. But I'd ended up focusing on like the bigger picture Fujikendo, and I got into FMA, I got into CLAT really heavily, and I got into HEMA because Guru Dan said get into HEMA, and I was like, okay, so like let's put all these things together, and that's how fighting arts came to be, the collective. And anyway, when I met Bang Rami and I started seeing my CLAT dovetail with the positions we were taking in Illustrissimo, it was absolutely clear to me that they were related systems. And of course, it's been alluded to, the connection. But for me, it's just so exciting because like that shotgun approach that I was taking, suddenly in one art, they all met. And I actually had just studied some Destreza with Gold Rock, and I had been working with Bolognese with not the noodles, but the sword play, and with Aldo Valente, and then I meet Mang Rami, and I was like, this looks an awful lot like Bolognese and Destreza, and he's like, of course it does, because where do you think it came from?
Fascinating. See, I find that so fascinating. I just
well, and I mean, like, it's really, really interesting because if you do look at the history, like, if you like swords, right? Everybody here likes swords. If you look at the history, you get to look at all the swords, and you get to see how the swords change over time, how they go from being these long dueling weapons and these long open terrain weapons to being shorter, broader boarding sabers, right? And it's really interesting because you have all these European armories making this transition through the period of occupation of the Philippines. And it's just really neat to kind of see that transition, but to look at the HEMA, of course, the people who fight against each other and fight with each other are going to pick up each other's technology.
Sure.
So, my understanding is that a lot of that saber work came from the Moors, so the Africans that were occupying Spain.
Right.
And so as they were pushed out, a lot of their technology was absorbed, and you start seeing this transition to new technology, and then the Philippines, all these Filipino fighters happy to jump on board the ship and travel the world, seek their fortune. So for me, yeah, that part is super exciting to see the technology coming in and then going out. And of course, what did it come to? It came to CLAT. because you're in the Malay archipelago,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I'm totally agree. I'm fascinated by it from a historical perspective and how this come together. And I firmly believe like he got more R's on there. He got Ceylon down there. I mean, he was down there for a significant period of time. How could he not be exposed to that?
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, if you look at it from a component aspect, so it's family system, HEMA, from the Spanish, Italian influence, and the moral. You know what I mean? And I think it's fascinating. Yeah, altogether, and yeah, it's just I don't know. I just love it. Um, okay, so okay. Oh, back to you, Guru Sixto. So when you were back with all the guys in their camp, way back, when they were all still alive and what have you, how they all get along? Are they like brothers? They have their arguments and their riffs.
How they got along. Anyway, like any family, there were arguments, and Mang Tony loved to make fun of other people. He made fun of Baste a lot. We made fun of Baste a lot. Mang Yuli, actually, it was Mang Romy who was a bit more serious, but if you get to know him, Mang Romy is a very funny guy. And like any family, they had arguments.
Gotcha.
For example, there was a time Mang Robert, the late Mang Robert, no? Mang Tony would hold doble labaha or doble baston in a certain way. He would hold one weapon up, one weapon down. Okay, so Mang Tony would teach me. When Mang Tony leaves, Mang Robert would approach me. Sixto, that's wrong. You should hold it this way. And so
There
many.
goes the friction.
Yeah, and of course, I just don't tell them, and that's even within KI. Sometimes other clubs like Mang Mena, we were waiting for Mang Tony there. Mang Mena was there, and Mang Mena would tell us, "Hey, Sixto, what you're learning is outdated. That's from the time of Lapu Lapu. I'll show you some more updated techniques." Then he would show us Ruwado, which is it's
Wow.
it was that direct. He was trying to pirate us. So a lot of people would say Luneta was like a mecca of where people exchange drill techniques. That's not true. That's not true. Mang Tony would teach us stuff, techniques like Basteda, dos manos. When somebody else would approach, he would whisper to Baste, Baste, okay, let's hide the techniques. Let's do this now so they can copy it. So, but there was a lot of bickering, no? There was a lot of bickering, a lot of arguments, but in the end, they had this love for each other, okay?
Oh, I'm sure.
They, I remember Mang Tony saying, Bang Yuli, he likes to make jokes, but during that demo, he moved so well. Mang Tony said that. And Mang Romy, when Mang Tony died, he was very supportive of our group. He was very supportive of Coach Arnold, Master Arnold. He was very supportive of us. So it's like any family.
Yeah.
I used to beat up my brother, but we love each other. Okay, it's same thing. It's family and it's brotherhood.
Yeah, right. It's like any family. You gotta have your dysfunction. And, you know what I mean? Okay. You guys, we both spoke on Mang Romy. His book, Guru Shawn. What has the book done for you, and its significance?
It's given me a job. So the funny thing about the book is I've been avoiding reading it, and
I just trying to find time.
Oh yeah, no, I keep on I have
stop doing interviews.
I have a box full of them, and because I just bought 10 of them right off. I wanted to have them in case I had a student that I needed to.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah.
But the it's funny for me because I've opened the book and I've started reading it, and then I was like, oh, because while Mangrami was polishing up the book, he was training me. And so Aldo and I would be training, and then he would, you know, he would give us a lesson on a specific aspect of what we were doing.
Okay.
And then he's like, oh, can you send me that video? Because I said it, I like the way I said that. And so he was tuning up the way he was presenting while he was training us. So what I really want to do is wait until everybody else has read the book and then talk to them about the book.
Okay.
Because Mangrami's said that he would like me to. I got a really auspicious promotion the other day. I've been promoted from window to door, and so he wants me to go and help people understand the book. So
that's great.
Yeah. And you know, so that the book has been incredible in that way, and it's also been really amazing to see like no one's trying to refute the book.
I haven't heard anything, and like I haven't seen anything in FMA discussion. I mean, there's 9,000 people in there. I think that would have come up by now. I think.
Yeah, and so you can imagine as a student what it's like to see the world go, yes, this is awesome, this is fantastic, and I'm just sitting here going, wow, I can have a tremendous amount of confidence in the accuracy of my teacher, and that is remarkable.
Oh yeah, no. If you got, I mean, that's
unexpected. Like I didn't know that I would have that doubt, but I mean, like how many times have you trained and then later on found out other things, right? And in this case, you know, I'm training and all I'm finding is affirmation after affirmation after affirmation. Even watching these podcasts, every time I hear someone speak, it's like there they are, repeating the same information I received previously, and it's all just affirmation. So that's what it is for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. So if I have a bunch of questions, I can call upon you anytime, and you're going to help me with the book.
Sure. Anytime. No, I did say it was a job, right? So like, no, but
you get somebody like me, man.
What did he mean by this? Like, well, but that is the point. I mean, you know, how are you going to reproduce the content in the book when it's all in language? Like you need to have a common understanding of what movements were associated with that language. And, you know, while I really appreciate that I've heard people say that language isn't the most important thing about KI, but when you have someone like Mangrami like clarify it all, then it becomes actually quite handy to have good, clean phrasing for each thing, because then it's not ambiguous. So yeah.
No, and folks, we're watching this again. This is the book. I've yet to hear anything negative about it. I'm just starting to get into it. As I mentioned, I gotta just find the time. But there's also videos that parallel this book that you can get from Master Ray Floro, and apparently they really help with the reading and all that. And I'm looking forward to getting into it and all that. So, how about same question, Guru Sixto, the book for you? You know, what do you think?
It's great that Mangrami finally had the book published. Years ago, he invited me and Baste if we were interested to become archivists ourselves. But I didn't have the time. Baste was very interested, but he was based in the States. And it's great that finally a lot of the concepts, because Mang Romy has this vast knowledge, understanding, and experience in FMA in general and Illustrissimo specifically, and I'm happy that his
Yeah.
work that he has his work. And I from what I know, this is only the first book. He has a lot of material. He plans to bring out a lot of materials later, and I hope
Yeah, I think
he
it's
does all
great.
of it because there's not much printed material when it comes to Calis Illustrisimo. There-
No, matter of fact, I think pre his book, I think the last that was done, if I'm not mistaken, was the GM Ricketts book and all that. So I think the more that comes out, I think it's just gonna be best. I think it's gonna be better for all of us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so while we're on Mount Romy, so the one thing I've heard, and it seems that he really emphasizes and all that, and you kind of alluded to it, Guru Shawn Measure. The concept of univogata, he seems to really, if I'm not mistaken, he seems to really put emphasis on that, and basically being in a position where you're evading the strike, but yet you have opportunity. You evade dealing with the threat, but at the same time, exposing and all that. So what can you tell us on that?
Um, well, it's so important that it formed the basis of the first 2 years of my training. Um, so yeah, it's really, really key. And the when you discover that it works and you then accept that you got hit because you didn't do it, then it makes such a huge
Feedback, right?
difference, right? Um, yeah, it's so simple and it's just geometry, um, and it works. I assume that this was common knowledge back in the day of sword fighting, and cartography and sailing and having to position yourself by triangulation. So I assume everybody knew it, and somehow we've lost track of it, and people just allude to it in the treaties. Um, but it's measure is key to having dominance instead of just counter position, right, or suppression. But having like positional dominance, like that's all about measuring and figuring out where you can reach and where it's difficult for them to reach you. So
Yeah, I just, like I look at the term counteroffensive, and you could be counteroffensive, but yet you need to preserve your center mass. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? When I look at the concept of univogata, which has been instilled for me, mostly by David Gould, it's like, okay, you're countering, but you're also where your center mass is also preserved. You're dealing with a threat and have opportunity. And I thought he kind of conveyed that, very similar to what you just mentioned, And Guru Sixto, what say you on that?
I think that the positioning where you can hit without getting hit back. Uh, the brothers, Mang Tony, Mang Romy, Mang Yuli. It was Mang Romy who put it into words. But when Mang Tony was teaching us, it was there. It was inherent in the way he was teaching us. Like I mentioned earlier, with the Estrella, you have to be in a proper position where you're able to hit your opponent, defending yourself, and he cannot hit back. This is especially you can see this especially in Punta Idaga or Espada Idaga. That's why Espada Idaga or Punta Idaga is a very good training tool. Again, the way I was taught by Mang Tony was if you're in the wrong position, he will be able to stab you.
Like the
So
last,
if you're in the right position, like what Mangromi was emphasizing, what he emphasizes rather,
mm,
you won't be hit, you won't be countered, but you'll be able to hit your opponent.
yeah. I think it's I got to be honest with you. Of all the systems I've been exposed to, not one system has dealt with this in the detail that KI does. You know what I mean? I tried to really think about that, and I'm looking at Sayok. Not Tienzo a little, But when I look at some of the other systems I've done, I don't see it really. Oh, guys, folks, Maestro Ray just put down here the link where you can get the actual video. So highly recommend that in conjunction with the book. Thank you, Maestro Ray. Super late. That's all right. You can just catch the download. No worries. All right. So I gotta just find where I was. Okay. Regards to the other concept of practice, I believe sparring is essential. How can you try to find the gaps before, during, or after if you're not sparring with the fluctuation and dynamic and range change, and obviously the opponent having something to do with it. Am I wrong? If so, where am I going wrong, Guru Shawn?
You're not wrong. If you don't fight, you don't know how to fight. It's, experience is required in any skill, and in a skill where you're being opposed by another skilled person, it's absolutely essential. And I think this is why there's so much focus in non-cooperation. In the training that I've been doing with Mang Rami. Yeah, you have to spar and press as hard as you safely can without doing damage to each other. It's been really exciting for me to find some people to spar with where I can spar with steel. And of course, when you spar with steel, even though we're using blunts, through the t-shirt, these things will cut us. Like they'll grab the shirt and give you one hell of a fabric burn and a deep bruise and like finger bones. But that pain and that fear, need it. You need it to move past your fantasies about the techniques and discover the reality of that.
What are you using for hand gear?
I have a light fencing glove from Purple Heart that I put leather lanes on top of. Now, it used to just be a gardening glove with leather lanes on top of it, but it's been very adequate for 15 years.
Okay.
So I've changed the glove like 3 times, but the lanes have lasted. Just horsehide lanes, 3/8 of an inch thick, sewn together by hand.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's like if you really want to become proficient and you want to improve steadily, you need that sparring, that opposition to know what to look for as far as gaps are concerned. I mean, like, I don't know how you achieve that without that. I don't have the answer, how you do it without, sparring. I'm not saying you need to go out there and kill each other, but you have to have that interaction to see before, during, and after. And I don't know how you achieve that without moving around with somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Guru Sixto, what say you on that?
Yes, I agree. You have to spar a lot in different formats because each format of sparring teaches you certain skills. Like there were times I used to spar with no handguard. So when you get hit with a stick, you stop. It's so painful. Or sometimes I get hit here in the carpal area.
Yeah, that's fun, right?
Yeah. Again, I agree with Shawn. You have to spar a lot, but not to the point of injury that you cannot fight anymore. Because what's the point of training if you kill your partner or you?
That's what I mean. Like you have to do it because if you're getting injured and then you got to take the time off to recuperate from the injury, I don't see how you're progressing in your journey if you're constantly on the couch recovering from an injury. So I think there's got to be a way to go about it, but yet bringing it to the closest to reality and incremental levels as possible.
Yeah.
This is why I want to meet with Shawn. I just can't wait to get with Guru Shawn here and learn from him, because I'm a sponge, man. I want to be exposed to everybody. I'm vested in my personal journey. I want to be the best version of myself, because obviously no one has all the answers, right? I certainly do. And what we got here? Lacrosse gloves are pretty good.
Yep.
I see that mango iron in mission. Okay. And yes, that's the point I made. Tony did Romy. Okay. And I remember I mentioning that was a team. Okay. Flow drills versus the attribute development in KI. Are flow drills needed? Are they necessary? If so, why? Guru Shawn.
Well, as someone who's been in the JKD world for a really long time, I've used a lot of flow drills, and I definitely find benefit. However, this idea has been heavily confronted by my current teacher, and he has a very good point. Every time we practice being cooperative, we're not practicing winning. And it's interesting because I've never really focused on winning until this. I've been a bouncer since '86, and alongside being a massage therapist and a martial artist, so winning wasn't really the goal. Having control of the situation was. And even when I went to Dog Brothers, I wasn't looking at coming out victorious. I was looking at not getting hurt by them. So whatever damage I put out was merely to keep myself safe and stay in the environment, right? I think if a person is learning and they're at the beginning, that the flow exercises are great for them to have an idea of the bigger picture of the potentiality of movement. But I certainly have to agree that in the circles where they're used, they're overused, and they've actually become the center point of the art.
Yeah,
as opposed to the objective and the conclusion. Right?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that assessment that the memorization aspect or the flow aspect of the drills becomes a main component as far as the curriculum, and generally rank and all that is generally associated with memorization and all that. And again, I'm not saying flow drills don't have a value. I don't want to come across that way, and I hope that's not being construed as such. But within the lens of attribute development, if you're allowing yourself to get hit and you're, like you mentioned, and it's okay, I think the transformation, depending on who you are, could be in conflict and all that. As far as I'm an attribute development guy. Again, I don't have anything against flow drills. I think it's like, where's your influence is coming from, and I think obviously it has an impact on the lane that you're in or what you gravitate to, or what speaks to.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just steal a little more time and
no, please do. Yeah.
I'll fully admit that I teach recreational martial arts, and KI is my personal journey. And this is like the apex of my personal journey at the moment. And for me to take on this old school point of view and go, no, I need to be focusing on objectives and outcomes, and I need to be laser focused on that. That's part of my personal journey, because I've had the luxury of having this really extended journey where I just get to explore and do what I want. It works out in the nightclubs. It's like, I've been really safe because the only other teacher I've really had that focused this much on the real fight was Makoto Kabiyama, and he's the guy that taught me everything that kept me safe in the nightclub. That when I was bouncing, it was his material that kept me safe because he contextualized it accurately, and um, and as a result, I never got hurt while I was bouncing.
Oh, good, good.
So
Obviously, something was working.
and so now doing this training, um, and taking on this mindset and this focus, it's like, I feel like in the real thing, it would keep me as safe as I'm going to be.
Okay. Yeah, no, fantastic. Well said. Guru Sixto, same question.
Well, personally, I would do both. Both have merits, but like what Shawn said, a problem with other systems is they focus, or some schools, they focus too much on flow drills. It does teach you timing. It teaches you to react. And the thing about flow drills is your partner or your feeder has to be skilled enough. Because a lot of times I see a lot of people doing flow drills, either the teacher or the partner is not skilled enough. And it looks like it's a waste of time. But if
Mm,
done properly in that context, you do learn a lot. But on the other hand, I believe, and personally, the way I train, like I mentioned to you, I also try other knife systems.
right.
They have no flow drills at
No,
all.
Viper has no flow drills. No.
There's no flow drills, right? So, and a lot of the more combative system, there are no flow drills. It's just you react. And I do remember a lot of what Mang Tony did and what Tatang did was that. Again, you show one technique,
Mm,
he counters, takes you down. I think his purpose was to neutralize you immediately, and there was no flow there.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so again, that's my belief. Each if done in the correct context would help you in your training.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, I think that's fair. Yeah. Um, other weapons. So I mentioned, obviously sword being showcased in KI, definitely Punta Dagger. How about, one thing I don't see, and by no means I'm not saying it's not trained, but like far as your guys, other weapons, it could be dos manos, knife. What have you guys been exposed to under the KI lens as far as other weapons training? Who would show?
For me.
Please.
So we've focused on sword and we focused on stance sparring in particular. But during that time, different swords would be brought out at different times depending on what the lesson plan was. And so for instance, if you want to build a person's reaction time and their visual acuity, an epee would come out, and you might be defending yourself with a stick. At some points, the pressure is so high that you'd actually go to stick for safety, and practicing against that pressure until you're ready to take, some tries at it with steel. And of course, then there's moments where you're looking at application for moments where you're not prepared and don't have a sword out. Maybe all you have is a short stick, right? And then, of course, there's knife, which my understanding is ultimately the intention is to be able to defend yourself versus anything with the knife.
Mm.
So, they're there, but, could we go into flexible weapons or like hooked weapons or chains? No. nothing like that.
Yeah, jeez.
It's like, well, rope dart or no. So there wasn't. I haven't seen anything that wasn't sword and dagger, really.
Yeah. Guro Sixto.
Okay. From my experience in KI, it's bare hands, hand to hand, knife, single stick or single sword.
Okay.
My favorite is double. That's my. It looks good, but it's not so practical actually. Punta Idaga or Espada Idaga.
Yeah, I'm a fanatic over that. Just the
Then
you
Dos Manos.
Dos
Then
Manos.
spear.
Okay.
Then spear.
Spear. Okay.
That's my experience, and sometimes with a shield. My personal take on it is each type of weapon
Mm.
would develop a certain attribute.
Okay.
If you want to develop power, you learn Dos Manos. It's a bigger weapon,
Mm.
and it forces you to make your stances, your footwork bigger. If you want to develop a snappy movement, you want to be fast, if you want to be near, you train with a knife. Each weapon has its own has again it has its own attributes. It's each has its own uses.
Mm.
Like this punta idaga, it teaches you how to use the left hand.
Right.
It emphasizes that. So that's my take on that. You have personally, for me, if you want to learn the whole system, you don't really have to master everything, but you have to be familiar with
Some
each
familiarity in each area. I gotcha. Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Empty hands. What was got my curiosity here. What were you giving as far as empty hands in KI training? Like it was it from a like it was it from more of a C-lot flavor, or was it more, dare I say, on a two dirty boxing? I mean, what were you getting?
Okay, from my experience now, because Mang Tony, I was asking him before, Mang Tony, should I learn panantukan or pangamut or whatever? Mang Tony's reaction was, don't bother, Sixto, just learn boxing.
Western
That's what
boxing.
that's what Mang Tony told me,
Interesting. No, no, no.
and he
Okay.
would add some KI techniques there, so he developed his own dirty boxing.
Okay. From using the KI lens combined with Western boxing, is that fair?
Yeah, but when I mentioned earlier, I remember the way Tatang moves. It was more block, counter, palm strike, takedown. It was more for me. It looked like World War II combatives.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that, which is I gotta look that up because I find that so interesting now. You know what I mean? Wow. Ray, Maestro Ray, use of the bandana was very interesting. You guys experienced that at all? Guru Shawn, the bandana use?
No, I was like, really?
I've seen it. I mean, in the books, I've seen him actually do it with against a knife and the videos and all that. But I myself as well have no experience.
No, nothing with the bandana. The empty hand stuff that I've seen is, I mean, there would be striking and so on, but I mean, most of it is empty hand versus weapon, and so it resembles grappling more than grappling and silat more than boxing. In terms of what I've seen of it. So, but very simplified, but also very very effective. So it really changed my mind. It really blew my mind when I saw it. I was like, this is so straightforward and yet so effective. Because clearly at that time the idea of 2-on-1 was already quite clear.
I don't know how you don't do 2-on. I mean, I think you guys by now know my take on 2-on-1 against knife. I mean, it's been I don't know how you can misconstrue my how I feel about that. I don't know how you defend it against a knife if you're not actually. I don't know. Just saying. I don't know. You might want to look at it. Just.
Oh yeah, there's a story of Mang Tony. He was stabbed on the chest once, and I asked him, "So Mang Tony, what did you do?" Oh, he was already hit. He was already stabbed. He got the guy's head and kept on smashing the head on a wall.
I think that would work too.
So
You could just shoot it as 2-on-1.
Wall, floor, excellent tools.
Jeez. Sixto, Guru Sixto, did you have any practice or experience with the bandana that Maestro Ray is mentioning?
I had some. Okay, I had some, and I've seen Tatang do it more on with Coach Arnold. But personally, I'm not really that
Same
interested
here.
with it. I'm
Yeah,
not
same
really that.
here.
So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm familiar, but some things you just don't. You're not interested
it's
in.
like,
So
no, I'm totally with you. It's like, okay, I could allocate my time here, something I'm already working and have been working for 2 decades, and then refine that, or I could go do something here that's, yeah. I mean,
something
right.
you might actually apply. So
Yeah, no argument here. Yes, Guru Base, that is definitely in the videos. I've seen that as well, where he's using the bandana. I've seen that. Yeah, that's a 2-on-1. Yeah, can't argue that. This is going excellent. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job in this interview. So I salute you both. Okay, you both. Okay, so Guru Shawn, are you currently teaching KI,
Yep.
or do you keep it very select, few, private?
Well, I had to keep it very select, but as I said, Mang Rami. So there was a while there where I was like, "How come you're teaching me?" Because he's never taken any money from me, and there was that doubt in my mind about like, well, are you going to continue teaching me? And just like there was, and he said, look, I want to teach this to you. You showed me respect, and I want to share it with you.
Sure.
And for me, you let the world see that we're doing something. And then recently he's like, look, you've served well as a window. Now I want you to be a door. You can start bringing people in and into the fold and start scouting for people that will join this preservation project and become archivists of the system. And that doesn't mean that you can't still have your own trajectory in martial arts. It just means assist with the mission, right?
Yeah. I like how you put
that mission. Which I don't personally have a problem with. So I've heard this question the last couple of times I've been on, where people are like, well, do you really teach it to everybody? And it's like, well, yeah, I'll teach it to anybody that really reaches for it. And what I mean by that is you gotta show up, right? Like I've had people question whether or not I'm going to share this with them, but when I made the invitation, they didn't show up ever. Right. And so it's like, well, the offer was there and my teacher's blessing was there. But you didn't
take advantage of it.
And like, so this is the thing for me. If you're going to be into it, it means that you have to show up enough for me to teach you the first year material. And then you have to build yourself a study group of people that you can practice that first year material with. And this is what's happening with me, and I didn't realize it at first, but I think this is just his process. So how uncommon is it for a teacher to say, don't teach this, don't go out and show this stuff just because I've shown it to you. Wait until you've been given approval to share it. Now, that second part of the statement was never made, but it turns out that that's what's happening. and it seems like he just wants me to be proficient before I go and go. This is what he showed me.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously, there's also the concern about like not just letting people run off with material, going like I'm just going to play with it however I want, which people are going to do. I understand people are going to do what they want to do, like they're going to change their trajectories and whatnot. But for me, it's it's a wonderful thing. I've been given this gift, and now I've been given the opportunity to share it, and so I will. And the book is out now, so as people become interested in the book, and if they want to have some guidance of how to like work that into their training, I can make myself available to come do that. But again, my ultimate goal will be to scout out students to like attend lectures with Mang Rami and maybe work with JJ Hervis, who's by 30 years my senior. So but these people want very, very serious students, not just someone that wants to add I trained with them to go, right?
Okay, yeah. Same question, Guro Sixto. Are you actively teaching KI?
Yes, but again, I'm not so open. This is not. I have a different day job. This is a personal journey for me, and the problem with a lot of KI instructors is most of them don't want to teach. Mang Tony, as early as 1998, told me, Sixto, why don't you start traveling and teach? There were no certifications back then. He said, start teaching, but I don't know. It's just not me. But I have a handful of students, and like what Shawn said, a lot of them they just want to learn in a seminar style. Let's say it's in addition to their BJJ or in addition to their Muay Thai or MMA. It's really difficult to look for people who want to really immerse themselves in the system.
From ground up. Interesting.
Yes.
They more want the seminar approach. Wow. When I look at that's so counterintuitive for me. I love ground up, like from not just from techniques, tactics, all the building blocks, ABCs, whatever you want to call them, but even from a historical point of view. But I guess everybody's being different.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like you need to be available every single day to train. For instance, I just went out to Portland and I trained with Brian Pike, and we spent the first 2 days of the visit, and I tried my very, very best to give him the experience I had on my first visit to the Philippines to Mang Rami's house. And now he's got a group together and he's practicing that. And we just stay in touch online and so on. But I mean, like, here's someone that said, look, I really want it. And they did the work. And now they're trying to repeat the work and they're asking for clarification as they go along. Because of course it's a process of figuring out what you interpreted and then cleaning it up until you get to what the source material is trying to direct you to. And in this case, the source material is really, really clear. So it's just getting rid of our own misconceptions, right? So yeah, it's totally possible to reach without necessarily being available every day.
Yeah. Because again, it also depends on the student. I've had students who are very interested in HEMA. They just want to learn the Dos Manos part. Some other students just want to learn the knife, just the knife. So it's rare to find someone who wants
the whole package.
Okay. Well, right now I have a student, and sometimes he also trains with me with Master Arnold. The thing is, he's left-handed, and I'm right-handed. So I'm also learning how to teach left-handed people with this guy.
Yeah. Wow. No, no, no. I'm glad. Yeah. It's just strange to hear that they want pieces, not the whole system. But I guess each to their own. When I hear that, it's just so counterintuitive to me. Not that it's important or matters. What do you guys? What do you to your students? What do you? Two-part question here. What do you try to instill in them as far as quote unquote essentials? And how do you incorporate the teaching of tactics, which can be subjective? So, one, objective lens, as far as core essentials. Second part of the question, more subjectively, the tactics. Guru, Shawn.
I don't understand the question.
So, okay. So, when you're, all right, you got a student that comes to you, okay,
Yes.
what would you instill them as far as your lens of the core essentials, as far as the building blocks of KI? Like, how would you go about giving it to your student?
So what's the methodology for teaching?
Or yours specifically?
Yeah, mine specifically is because of my commitment. Mine specifically is to try and reproduce that first, second, third, fourth, fifth year of training that I've been given.
That you were going through. Okay.
So the first year was learn and practice measure with very few variables, with just the very basic approach to learning measure until your study group can effectively take measure under pressure with someone who's trying to conceal their intentions. And then for the, I actually planned my first 2 years because my whole first year was based on election, right? So, but the first year of full training was that same practice with about 7 of the techniques from the system. And
Okay.
those were, I guess, the dueling aspects of the system, which was really interesting, actually, because I just introduced this again to the people in Portland, because we did a little seminar for his training group. And there's only 6 people there, but I mean, I don't mind. They were very focused. And, I asked them at the end, I was like, have you ever seen anything like this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, me either. And I was like, what do you think this is? Do you think this is dueling or combat? And they're like, oh, this is combat, because you're so blown away with that first year material of how aggressive it is. But it's the dueling material. It's not the level of aggression between that and the dueling material is 1,000% increase, right? So here I have my friend Aldo, who's my Bolognese teacher, and myself training with Mang Rami, and every single day it's like not enough aggression, and we're sitting there going like, okay. It's like not enough aggression. All right,
Wow.
factor, intensify, and go, right? And so it's. I think I might be losing the thread a little bit, but no, I got it. So the thing is that first it's going to be focus on measure. Second, it's going to be dueling practices. And then we'll go into the balance.
That's really unique. I mean, the reason why I am asking is that you, in other words, mostly come from building blocks. Like, okay, here's your footwork, here's your strikes, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I'm getting from you is you introduce measure, right from the get-go. So I find that fascinating. Okay.
It's necessary.
Interesting, very interesting. Guru Sixto, same question.
Okay, from the way I understand your question, when I teach, I try to instill the concept of principles. Because a lot of times people are so too specific. They ask, okay, I show a technique. Why do you do it that way? Tatang does it differently. Well, Tatang, for one, each of us are different. Tatang's
Mm,
arms are long relative to his torso.
yeah.
Mang Tony's arms are short relative to his torso again. And Tatang was a big and strong guy. I think, he was taller than Mang Tony. Mang Tony was a bit shorter. Because a lot of times people would force a technique.
Mm,
They would force it without understanding the principle behind it. You should understand the principle why. If you notice, all of, Mang Romy, Mang Tony, Mang Yuli, Pedring, Mang Martin, all of them move differently. Me and my brother, we move differently. He has a lower stance. I stand like Mang Tony. So you have to understand the principles. Why do you do that technique? Why do that? And specifically, why do this kind of estrella? Is it because, oh, it's a variation? No, it shouldn't be because of the I want you to make a variation. It's
mm.
because of the specific situation and your specific body mechanics.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you both. What are you, okay, goes up here. What are your individual goals in KI going forward? Guru Shawn.
Well, I'd like to get good at it. So, um, I, I would like to become much more proficient than I am, and develop the level of aggression that my teacher wants to see from me. Um, my larger goals are to help with that mission of preservation and scout out some good people to pass on to my seniors and my teacher, so that they can have the experience that I've had. Um, and you know, I think this is going to be part of my practice ongoing. It's just it's such a unique practice for me. I mean, even though I've had time in with HEMA and I've had time in with steel, outside of this, the level of intensity and focus on reality, and also like learning the history, like properly learning the history. And I'm not talking about the history of just, Tatan's life, because I mean, that's part of the history for sure, but tracing it all the way back to its sources in Europe. I actually have a friend who's working on a historical project and has access to the treaties, and might actually at some point be able to discover who brought these arts on which ships.
Wow, that'd be fascinating.
Right? So I mean, that kind of stuff. If that were ever to actually be discovered in the old logs of manifests of the ships, that would be amazing.
I think so.
But I would love to learn the history better. I would love to learn Spanish, because the language of Spanish and Tagalog, as it relates to Mang Rami's book and the content of Tatan's system. It creates mental pictures when you understand the language well enough, and helps you understand what the intention behind the moves are. So there's a lot of things, but I mean, like, these are just self-perfection, self-improvement projects that came to light because of the study. So those are the things.
Those are great goals. I'm a history like you. I'm fascinated with the history. Like, I want to know. I want to know where it came from. I want to know what, you know what I mean. Yeah, it really drives me. Same question, Guru Sixto.
Okay, when it comes to history, I'd rather let someone else do it for me, and I'll just listen to your lectures and
Yeah.
read your books. Okay, it's not Basta's the guy who's more interested with historical stuff. For me, KI is more of a personal thing. It's a personal journey. I just want to train. I just want to study. It's biomechanics. I want to understand more of how Tatang does it after decades of being in the system, going away for a while,
Mhm.
trying other systems. Then now, full circle, I came back. Then I'm also trying other systems. I want to see connections, similarities, principles. The what makes it work? Would it work in other things? In other uh, fighting arts? That's it. It's more of a personal thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I agree with both of you guys said it. It's like there's something profound that this art brings out in me of wanting to go as deep as I humanly can.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I've never had this inclination from another art. While there was a tenure of interest, but I felt like I peaked and was ready to like, okay, I'm good. But this is so captivating for me personally. Like I want to just be not just the best version of myself. I want to just go as deep as I can to understanding, and that's why I'm doing these themes because it's been so informative. Like hearing from everybody and all that, getting everybody's different perspective historically from a tactic point of view, technique, their experience with GM, El Strismo when he was alive, everything. So I just can't get enough personally. You know? What Okay, far as we're doing these themes and all that. I kind of open with I think it behooves a student, to train with as many people as they can if they want really a better understanding and all that. I'm not saying it's necessary. I just but I think there's see different lenses, talk to different people.
Yeah,
Whatever exchange
right.
is deemed helpful to you or what have you. Guru Shawn, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, just before I answer that, I just want to say to Sixto, it's like I let my more history-oriented friends do most of the heavy lifting on the history side because I love it, but I'm not the one to do the hard research. When it comes to training and looking at other interpretations of KI, I actually have students who are actively doing that, and so they give me feedback on what the differences are and what the different lineages are prioritizing, and of course they're doing the work, so they appreciate it, and I get to appreciate it through them and understand that they've developed good relationships with those teachers, and so hey, my people are good people, and they wouldn't have chosen to work with those people if they weren't good people. So I got nothing against taking a look. I have to say, I really want to work with Dax, and possibly because he kept saying, "Fight me." Now I do. I want to. So at some point, Dax will get together. And I mean that with best of intentions. But also because Dax's teacher used to be Mangrami's friend in college, and I'd love to see, what where they went with that, and where they ended up, and how it translates. So, I'm always open-minded about anyone who trains. As far as I'm concerned, if you have goals in the martial arts, I can find a reason to appreciate you, and that's it. That for me, like I can find a reason to appreciate everything. Will I deep dive like I have with Mangrami? I don't know. I haven't had the experience being captivated like this in a very, very long time. But someone shows up and has like mind-boggling amounts of life-changing information. I'm not going to ignore it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're not good. You're right. You're not going to turn around.
No, because I'm enjoying it so much right now. For me, getting to train with Mangrami is it's one of those archetypal martial arts stories. It's just you meet this person who, even though you're relatively developed as a fighter, like next levels you like several times. It's just, yeah. Why would I turn that down if I had that opportunity again? But yeah.
Guru Sixto, same question.
What's the question again?
Oh, what would you what your feeling on training with others, and for the betterhood of yourself and for the community? Your thoughts?
Okay. I've had the luxury of training with the different masters of KI, and each of them would emphasize something else. So I guess it's a good thing. Train with
I think so.
a lot of them. Be open. Even though I'm more with Kiro, more from Tony's lineage, I'm very open to visit Mang Romy every now and then. And I wish Mang Yuli would go back to Manila so I can train with him again. And I'd like to meet up with my seniors. My seniors before, like Jason Yee, Maynard, guys who came before me. I'd like to see. Because one of my uh, problems is some people, after they got the rank of Guro or instructor, they just left and never came back. I met one of those guys, and he sucked. He was showing techniques, and it's not being closed minded. Okay, his movements already mutated. It's not KI anymore. It's not KI anymore. So my belief is you should go back to your teacher every now and then, or somebody more senior than you. Mang Romy, how old is Mang Romy? He's nearing 80, right? He still trains.
Yeah.
When Baste and I would go to him, he moves. He moves well. Mang Yuli is not a young man anymore.
But the way he moves still.
The way he moves.
Really?
I think the word is sprightly. So for me, there's no excuse. Again, it's good to learn from a lot of sources. That's good. Just be sure that you get it from the proper source.
Yeah. No, well said. Yeah. Fair enough. Wow. Okay, I got a question here from Chris Caban before I get you guys closing statements. And I don't know if you guys are going to. I'm going to throw both at you. And okay, his question is: there is a book in Mark Riley's Philippine martial arts culture of the chest tattoo and ting and ting, and it looks faded. Do either of you know the stories about the relationship between the nature or spiritual nature of these types of charms, prayers, and KI in their training? So whoever wants to take a crack at that one.
You want to go first, Sixto?
I have no idea.
For me, the anting stuff, it's more of a cultural thing. Personally, I don't believe in it. If it makes you feel better, it's an anchor. I believe it's more of an anchor thing. I know some people really delve into that, like Samuel Ilustrisimo, Tatang's grandnephew.
Okay.
He was part of this group Haring Bakal, where they hit you with machetes. Well, if you believe that, well, it's sorry, but personally, I'm a skeptic.
Okay,
I'm
no, fair enough.
skeptical.
Fair enough. Like I said, I couldn't even begin to answer that. So yeah, could be a whole separate episode. Yeah. How about you, Guru Shawn? Anyone crack at it or no?
I'll tell you what I know, which is like infinitesimal amount. Mang Rami discussed Unting with me. And being the very astute fellow that he is, he actually started expressing it in terms of science and in terms of brainwave studies and the type of states that you might be in, like alpha, beta, theta, etc. And so, and while there are other aspects to hunting, the topic, you know, the parts that we talked about were actually very accessible during sparring.
Okay.
And you know, I found myself tuning in, which is my way of describing it. But I found myself tuning in, and when I tune in, and there's certain things that I can tune into better, like rain. I can tune in very well to rain. But there's certain things that put you in the right mental state that are very powerful, and whether they're anchors, as was described, or you know, like an affirmation or a mantra might work. You know, there are these aspects. So I imagine that the material ones operate on a similar principles. But yeah, it was really interesting to have it discussed one day and have it made tangible for me by someone who was aware of the history of where it came from, the mindset from where it came. But of course, that's a pre-computer mindset, right? That's it.
Yeah, no, I think I find it all interesting. You know, I mean, I don't dismiss it. I'd like to know more about it. And current status quo, I don't know enough about it. You know,
Me either.
You know, closing statements. And again, I just want to reiterate, I think you guys did a fantastic job today. Thank you for both coming on. We're going on 2 hours, so obviously this went well. There was plenty to talk about. So closing statements to the KI community.
Keep trading, have fun, be nice to each other.
It's not really hard, right?
I mean, I don't know. It sounds like it. You know, it's such a weird thing, and I'm sorry, but it's such a weird thing for me to hear. Like, there's all this drama in the KI community, and I'm like, every time I don't see it. I hear people saying that it's there.
Because it's more behind the scenes.
Well, maybe that's why I don't see it, because like I don't know. I'm just trading.
Yeah, right. Hey, Bert always tells me, let them complain. We just train.
Right. There you go. Fair.
You know what I mean? So, Sixto, closing statements for the KI community.
Again, make sure your sources for KI are legit. There are too many claims, and there are just too many masters. And like what Shawn said, let's just keep on training. Let's keep on training.
Right. You know what I mean?
And learn, keep an open mind, learn from different, not just any source, but learn from different legitimate sources.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. It really has. I thought you both articulated very well. I thought this went extremely well, and I think folks that are watching it found it informative based on the comments that are coming through. I know I enjoyed it, and I learned listening to you guys. And yeah. So again, on that note, I appreciate it, and hopefully it's not the last I hear from you guys. Definitely not you, Boo.
I'll see you soon. Right.
Careful.
Thank you very much, Dean. It was
Careful.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I keep hearing about this thing in the background, so I was a little nervous coming on, but it turned out real well. And thanks
Oh,
everybody who watched.
yeah, no. No. I never put anybody uncomfortable. So I want people to come on here and really relish and enjoy enjoy the experience. You know what I mean? All right, you guys take care, and I appreciate it.
Nice meeting you, Sixto.
Okay, nice meeting you, Shawn. Take care, stay safe. I hope I meet you in person in the future soon.
I'm sure.
You too, Dean. Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you both. All right, guys, be good.
Be well.
Okay. Okay. Stay safe.
All right, that concludes part 5. So I don't know how many more am I going to do. I don't know. So please, if you were late, listen to the beginning of this interview. Obviously, there's been a lot of attention to KI as of late. I wonder why. And good friend Paulo made a couple posts, and if you're emotionally affected by that, I just got to be honest with you. For somebody who's not even associated in a group, a lineage, or student for that matter. I mean, granted, he experiments with KI and all that. And I got to be honest, it kind of came from one group that were kind of set with him. And I don't know if that emotionally rattles you. I got to be honest. I don't know. Why do I say this? I look at it from the lens that if he's talking about KI, he's bringing exposure and attention to it. There's been numerous people that make inquiries about KI. How do I know this? Because I get messages every other week. Hey, who would you recommend? I know you do it. I know you train with different people. I know you're covering the theme. Who would you recommend? So I know this absolutely. There's been a surgence and interest in KI. So I think there are some things that have come out of his post that are positive in that regards. Again, he is expressing his opinion. If you get caught up in that, I think that's on you. But at any rate, and again, I told you guys for the theme episodes, I'm going to bring honesty. At the end of these episodes, I will be interviewed, probably by Paulo, and my conclusive findings. What did I find out from these themes? What was revealed? And I'm obviously going to be truthful. I firmly believe that sanctions should be able to work together. I think the students should be given freedom to go check other instructors out for the betterhood of their journey, their KI journey. So if I see the opposite, I will reflect that. If I see a group that doesn't advocate that and they're all that, I'm sorry, I'm going to reveal that. That's on you. Okay. So I don't know what else to say in that regards. Okay. This is not indentured servitude. The student should have free will. It is their journey, their peace, their journey is far more important than the system or the instructor. If you don't see that, well, apologies. I don't know how you will see that or why you don't see that. Again, the student's journey is, in my opinion, the most important. So hopefully folks will see this concerted effort I'm making that really is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. So there's just not that friction. Well, can I go train with him? Again, if you are secure in what you're doing, you would advocate for your students to go train with others. Why? Well, they might be bringing back information that perhaps you didn't know or seen. It would behoove the whole group. So I don't think it's overly complicated. But insecurities, emotional attachments, they'll do this. And it's seen. And it will be seen. And it will be revealed. So, all right, folks. But thank you for watching. And I will see you, I believe, next episode. Well, for me, anyhow, is Saturday. I'm not sure if Tom Pena's got one going on. But for me, Saturday, I'm doing part 2 of the school FMA, how to get FMA schools open. with Datu Tim Hartman and Guru Ace Ramirez. So I really highly suggest, if you have an inclination or thought about potentially opening a school, I would highly suggest you watch that. These guys are 100% successful in what they do, and they're going to give some tips how to go about doing it. So if you have thought of this or contemplate it, I would highly recommend you watch their episode and the first one they did, which I don't recall the exact episode number, but was fairly recent. So you should be easily be able to find in an FMA discussion group. And as always, if you have not subscribed yet to FMA discussion, please do so. All the money I receive goes to charity. We don't keep any of it. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.